Opening the doors to our Mount Shasta 2024 informational meeting. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Hello, hello, hello. I'll invite you to bring yourselves on camera. Even if you don't have your lashes on, you can come on. Hi, Tom, Matthew, yay, Robin, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I love you guys coming on camera. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Barbara in the house. What's up, Barbara, Sherry, Charles, Mama. I see you, Mama. Ann, awesome.
I'm not on camera. Do you want to be?
Yay.
Yeah. Sure.
I love you.
That.
If you feel Miles, awesome. I will ask you to put yourselves on mute though, or maybe Kathy, you can probably put everybody on mute. Renee, I see you coming in. Kim, right on. Kevin. Hello, hello. All right. Well, let's dive right into our conversation here. Kathy will monitor the doors and keep letting our friends in. I'm so grateful just to be with you guys and have this conversation. Super excited about this. I've had new languaging drop in my field that resonates so highly with me. Let me know if this resonates with you too. The idea of the timeline of destiny, and or you could call it a path of destiny. And the path of destiny being one in which you live pursuing your own personal mastery while leaving a legacy, a positive legacy and powerful legacy here on the planet. How many of you, oh gosh, I got chills through my whole body. You might have physical sensations in your body responding. How many of you feel like you're on that timeline? Yeah, I see a lot of you. This timeline is a fun one. We have access to multi-dimensional skills from all of our lifetimes. It's also a really challenging one because there's a lot of initiation that happens when we are on the path of destiny. It's not only real life initiation that happens in the 3D world, but also spiritual initiation and devotion to our path and our study. So I want to just invite you to hold this question in your heart as an anchoring question for tonight. And what does it mean for you to live a life of destiny? Your destiny specifically. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm excited to share with you guys about Mount Shasta. Oh, Lizanne, I see you in the house. Hi, girl. About this amazing experience that has changed my life, going into the mountain very purposefully for transformation. I also want to hear from you guys. I'm going to answer all of your questions about the experience that we have coming up in August as we go. But I want to start by just asking you all, why are you here? Why did you come? Why are you excited to join in tonight? And just take yourselves off mute whenever you feel inspired to share.
I'll go.
Right on, Robin.
Great. Well, we met not too long ago, and I've been following you ever since we spoke, just because your message totally resonates with me. And I was really curious in your post about, or your email about, just you really stepping into being the CEO of your life based on the circumstances in both dimensions of your reality shifting radically. And yeah, I can tell, and I guess that's why the theme this evening is about our destiny, is that I just really feel like I'm being called to own my power. And I've really defaulted throughout my life at giving that away. And I understand more fully now how I do that and how it doesn't serve me. And so this evening's message and whatnot just really aligned with where I'm at right now. And I'd love to hear what everyone else is experiencing and then your personal experience, because it just feels like it will broaden my perspective and my understanding of what I'm calling myself to be and step into at this time of my life.
Woo! Amen. I heard that, sister. Thank you. Thank you for being in the house and letting us all be a part of that. Because I mean, how many of you want to work at a high level of mastery and genius? Right? It takes this kind of devotion and participation. So thank you for kicking it off. Put them up, Kathy. Robin, also, thank you for reminding me the pieces of my own personal story that I was sharing about being at a crossroads. I feel like that is likely really relevant for you guys. How many of you feel like you're at a crossroads? Yeah. It could even just be thematically in your life, you know? It doesn't necessarily have to look like job and relationships. You can just feel this call and this pull. Cool. Hi, Jim. Hi, Alyssa. I'm glad you guys are here. All right. I'd love to hear from somebody else. Who else wants to share why they're here?
Can I jump in, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't know we'd be on camera and, and live with everybody. It's so nice to talk to everybody. So when you posted your thing on Facebook this afternoon, I happened to take a break from work, and it just resonated with me, and I knew I had to join this. But I'm really connected with Mount Shasta, and every time I've been there, it's been very powerful. And as you were talking about owning your destiny, and that I could feel the fear tightening up, and the just sort of hesitance of how can I become, I know it's there, but it
Yeah.
just seems so big that
Yeah.
so it's challenging. So I'd love some insights, and I'm here for listening and for opening to it. But yeah, it's a little scary.
It is. Well, our bodies give us feedback. And so thank you for being able to like acknowledge the clench that was coming and own it and breathe through it. I mean, this is what it looks like to be here and to work at this level, by the way. And you've got to be able to feel and understand those responses in your body. So thank you, Kevin, for working at a high level. And yeah, I'm with you on that pull, that draw to the mountain, and magical things happen. I'm excited to talk more specifics. Who else wants to share? Well, give one more live share. Yeah, Miles.
Yeah, just for me, my synchronicity has been crazy lately, and I'm really intrigued to see what's awaiting me. How's that? And I appreciate your authenticity, Emily.
Thank you, Miles. That reflection means a lot to me. Yeah. How many of you guys also, a lot of synchronicity might have brought you in here tonight? Steve Hammond in the house. I see you down there. Hi. Good to see you. Cool. Alyssa, I think you were going to share something. Go ahead and take yourself off mute. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm just here for the ride. Ever since me and my husband found you, it's just been like synchronicity 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just so empowering to feel like there is just being able to witness you and you stepping into your power and knowing who you are and being confident and like leaning in. Me and my husband always say like one of the things we admire the most about you is you're like, wait a second, maybe I'm not let me ask again, or like you're not. So many of us, I feel like here on earth, we feel like we have to be and look a certain way, especially when we put ourselves in like a higher place where we're saying, hey, I've got something really important for you, like you do. And it's just so empowering to just be around you and allow whatever magical things you have in your life, the way you share it with everybody. So I don't know much about Mount Shasta, but I'm super excited because I've seen anything you create. It's always magical. And that's really awesome.
Wow, thank you all. I didn't know that I was going to be called to hold myself in such a state to receive. Thank you all. I feel myself like, oh crap, I'm starting to get nervous now up here. You know what? It reminds me of a time in my Hollywood career where things I was on the rise, and I had just done this really great independent film, and it had debuted at a film festival, and I had an audition the next week, and the casting directors for that audition had been to the film festival. They had seen the film. They were so excited to meet me. They even came out into the waiting room to say, oh my gosh, we're so excited. I don't think I've bombed an audition harder, worse ever. Maybe the Saved by the Bell audition that I tell the story about, where I actually left the casting office and came back in. But like one of my biggest bombs was after they were just like, oh my gosh, we can't wait. I couldn't even get it out. All right. Well, I had a really great presentation planned for y'all tonight. I hope I can still get it out for you. Thank you all very much. Yeah, Jim, I'd love to hear from you too. We don't hear you yet.
Sorry, I couldn't find the freaking mute button. There we go. So
Hi.
I sat down this morning before I knowing this was coming, and I opened up my Oracle deck. The first card that came up, I can't see it, but it says deep time. And I looked at it, I thought, ooh, this was the time to go a little deeper. Getting goosebumps even saying that. And then I realized I drew 2 cards, and behind the deep time was a gateway card.
Mm.
Doesn't really work for the camera, but I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, definitely walking into a gateway for sure. Hey, Kathy, were there any comments that came in? For some reason, I'm not seeing my chat box down here, but if there are any applicable comments in there, will you read them for us?
So let's see. Robin says, yes, this is the theme for me. Renee said, here to see what's going on for this year's Shasta retreat.
Renee.
Matthew says you're hosting, so I'm here.
Thank you,
Kevin, synchronicities are blowing up.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, Jan, I saw your hand go up too. Let's take one more share and then we'll make a little shift.
I'm curious. I'm so attracted to Mount Shasta, and I'm just want to hear more about the agenda and what you feel like is going to be happening there. Is that a good segue? You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Our curiosity is part of your childlike essence. And when you notice your curiosity leading you places, follow that. That's definitely good stuff. All right. Well, I want to transition into sharing with you all now why I created this experience. And some of you have mentioned reading the emails or the posts that we put out on social media. And I actually have the post, one that is just really, it's one of those really raw, vulnerable shares that I probably get a little nervous actually reading it to you all in my own voice as well. But this is a piece that I wrote to really share why I created it. And if it's okay with you all, I would just like to read it to you. I don't think I could remember it or monologue it or act it out any better. So would that be cool if I just read it to you, even if you've seen this post before? Cool.
Yes, please.
I was lying to myself, and I was proud of it. Even though I'm a teacher of spiritual truths, even though I unlocked the most powerful technology on the planet, I was a liar, liar, pants on fire. I was telling myself that if I stuck with it, eventually I would get where I wanted to be. This was fat bullshit. To stick with something means you're willing to tolerate it, to endure it. I did this for the first 5 years of my business, thinking that I had great fortitude and was even proud of myself for my character, building a healing and teaching business at a slow, somewhat steady pace, sometimes not so steady. Here was the problem. The real me didn't want slow progress. I was settling for it because I hadn't had an experience getting quiet with myself. And I hadn't had an experience getting quiet with the consciousness of my mission. I hadn't taken a vacation in over 10 years. I rarely unplugged from technology and the modern world, and I had never gone on a spiritual pilgrimage. It makes me emotional now when I read it because, dude, I would never treat dudes and dudettes. I would never treat myself like this at this point in my life, but reading this now and feeling how just like close in my past this was, whew, makes me emotional that I did that to myself. Anybody relate? Are you guys doing that to yourselves? I see you. Here was another problem. I was at a crossroads. My business partner left. And this business partner was also my former business coach. Important backstory because it'll make perfect sense when I tell you I had deferred most of the decision-making to him. I was now the solo driver. Big shift number 1. Oh, but we're not done yet, are we, universe? A month later, my husband and I found our soul contract as spouses coming to an end. Yes, massive change and upheaval. Couldn't have been a more obvious message from the universe that I was entering a cycle of sovereignty. After more than 20 years of being a co-decision maker in all aspects, I found myself totally in charge of my own life and future. Yes, it was exhilarating and scary as hell, 2 completely different dimensions. At first, I did the massive flip-flop between fear and potential. Which possibility was I going to hang on to? But I quickly realized whatever I decided would be my first big decision as CEO of my life. I realized with my whole being that I was writing my future in that now moment, and that this decision was paramount. I decided once and for all, I was choosing potential. My next step, I needed to unplug from the outer world and go deeply within so I could get true clarity without artificial intelligence of my cell phone and Wi-Fi, in a place where ancient wisdom was waiting for me. I felt called to Mount Shasta, hearing the stories of how this vortex, the root chakra of the planet, had activated miracles for others. After hitting a point where my marriage was over and I wasn't sure how to proceed in my business, I decided it was time for a visit. Holding my intention for clarity and calling in help from the cosmos changed everything, you guys. In July of 2019, I hit the road in sacred pilgrimage. What happened on this adventure and the trips that followed was nothing short of spectacular. I'll be sharing more about the specific one-on-one encounters I've had with Saint Germain, Melchizedek, Magdalene, Yeshua, UFO, Sasquatch, fairy, Telosians, and more tonight. However, the most important thing, how did Mount Shasta change my life? Okay, this is just what happened during and immediately after my very first trip. I downloaded a clear vision for the Akashic Academy, and with 8 months, quintupled my income. Anybody would benefit from quintupling your income, creating some more freedom and flexibility in your life. I lived a dream of speaking on stage at Harvard University, giving a keynote talk about the Akashic Records and receiving a standing ovation. How many of you guys have dreams to speak and share? Yeah. I can tell you that while it may seem natural next step, she spent 20 years in Hollywood to be on stage and talking. I quit college. I'm a college dropout. So to stand on stage at Harvard University, the School of Education, and talk about what I think is the most genius educational tool on the planet felt profound and just incredibly intimidating and scary at the same time. And seemed like, how would I ever end up there? Sometimes the dreams feel so big. How would that ever happen? Anybody tuning into your dreams right now and you're getting a glimpse of them, but part of you is like, dude, how is that ever going to happen? Right? It happens. It happens. Within 6 months, I completed principal photography on a documentary film for the Akashic Records. I deepened my most important relationships with my children, inspiring them to lean into life and to make some big changes for themselves. The results of my clients and students also began to skyrocket. Stephanie, who had done some paid readings here and there, worked with me to create a high-end mastermind and replace her full-time income. And within a few weeks, she left her 3D job. Do I have any healers in the house that are wanting to expand their business and you're just doing a couple of readings here and there, and yeah, but not sustainable yet? I see you. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I see you. I helped Kara, a well-known healer and spiritual teacher who's even worked alongside the Leo King, find the tweaks in her business that led to consistent 5-figure months so she could find new levels of freedom in her life, which now includes a lot of exotic travel. How many of you guys have things that you want to do on this planet that don't include work and your mission? You just want to be and have some fun. Yeah, I heard that. A new student found her way to me, suffering deep grief and depression after the death of her partner. She had not only a broken heart, but had lived a life of disappointment and now found herself passionless. She had no idea why she was even here on the planet or if life would ever feel joyful. After completing the master level training, she found a new lease on life. On the mountain, she experienced a divine healing of her own heart, released lifetimes of trauma, and she now understands her soul mission as a grid worker, and she continues to download and implement information into the Earth's grids of consciousness to help us heal. That's a crazy job. That's not one that I got to go to the job fair for, right? But this is what it looks like to begin to understand your soul mission and to work with your soul mission. So at the end of my story, I felt like I was getting to the end of my story there. Oh, no, sorry, there's another page. My next step, bringing others, but that's going to bring us into what we want to talk about tonight. Talk to you guys about is what it would look like for you to have an experience that creates radical acceleration. So thank you for listening. I want to stop talking here for a second and turn it back over to you guys. Where you're at on your spiritual journey, you know, it has a lot to do with what you're going to get out of this experience. Like you heard in my story, in my essay, I was definitely at a crossroads. I was at a place where I knew there was more, but I didn't fully know how to access it. So I'm curious for you guys, and let's do the same process. We call it popcorning. Just take yourself off mute. Where are you at in your spiritual journeys? What kind of things are challenging you? What do you want to experience and want to create? Okay, those are the kind of things I want you to talk about. Where are you at on your spiritual journey? What do you want next on your spiritual journey? Yeah, Lizanne, awesome. I'd love to hear from you.
Hey,
Hi.
I think it feels like I was at the crossroads and then I picked a road. Like I picked it.
Excellent.
And I'm feeling like all the shifts that have happened since then. Which started with like soul contract ending after almost 20 years. Looking for like where I'm going to land next, which led me into travel consistently for 2 months doing, you know, what I do as a shaman. And so public speaking is something that I want, but also I'm just open to like the next step and how it's forming in a way that only shows me the first step, like the next first step.
One at a time.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're experiencing right now? With this particular aspect of the journey?
Reframing what landing looks like. In the past, I was used to scheduling, working at this desk, like very, like sort of a rigid structure that I'd created.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now I'm in flow and allowing that to be part of how I operate. Yeah.
Yeah. I find for me, it's such a mind thing. And it actually comes down to how my brain works. Hi, Robert. Good to see you. And when I get outside of my 3D life, my regular environment, the people who are surrounding me all the time, all of those things and people and situations are reinforcing and rehearsing my brain patterns and the way that I think. So anytime that I notice, okay, I got to think differently. I need new perspective. High point vortexes, like if you can't get out of town, go to a high point vortex. So we're going to talk about, you know, Mount Shasta as a vortex, but I'm not actually breaking down the differences between masculine and feminine vortexes, but the guides are telling me to share it with you guys so you can play with this in your hometowns. If you need perspective, you want to go to a high point. That's an activation of a masculine vortex. And you can think like wide vision, like that omnipotent sort of perspective. When you need healing and you want to go deeply inward and you want that insight on the microcosm of who you are, go to a feminine vortex. That's going to be in a valley area or where there's water or flowing energy. Okay. And that will clear your energy field. I'm going to talk more about nature and how important nature is. I think that our next level of evolution will unfold as we reconnect with nature and allow nature to begin to teach us more dynamically. So some vortex info for you guys there if you're experiencing anything like Lizanne. Thanks for sharing. Cool. Who else wants to share? Like where are you at on your physical or on your spiritual journey? Yeah, Tom.
Hello.
Hi.
You brought up the idea of vortexes, and what I find is, and it's interesting again, the masculine and the feminine. I'm glad you defined that. So there's a large lake, the Great Lakes, and I'm about 2 hours away from one of them, Lake Huron, and I love going there. I get great sleep, I get amazing rest, but initially the first few days, I am drained. I am I sleep longer, but I sleep longer during the day. Meditations are deeper. It is wonderful. If I'm just asking if you could just review what's actually happening at that, at that the first few days when you get into a vortex and it starts taking your energy.
So I find there are a couple of things that need to happen. First of all, we have to unwind and unplug. And there, at least for me, I find that there needs to be a recalibration of my nervous system. And Tom, it's really cool that you sleep a lot because that recalibrates the nervous system. Some people find it harder to sleep in that scenario. And when we don't have enough sleep, small stress points can really cause flare-ups. And emotions tend to be high as well, those first days coming into the vortex. So there is an unplugging and a recalibrating of our nervous system that I find happens first. And then there is, it's like we move into coherence. It's like there's a preparation. There's a dialing up of the energy frequency so that we can be in coherence with the higher frequency energies that are there. And all of that's very energy zapping. Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Can I share something again?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, I don't want to hijack anything, but there was a download I had recently that
Cool.
it's just being called out of me, and I wanted to share with this group. In some healing work that I had done recently, deep in the meditation, I found that the centers of energy, as you're talking about Mount Shasta and all the different places around the world, they're actually shifting into us. The energy workers on the planet are actually creating new ley lines between each other, and we are becoming the focal points of energy as in the midst of all this chaos as Earth is disrupted. And so it's important for this group to recognize that you are becoming the centers of power and energy.
Amen. Thank you. Yes. And I find that we are getting more and more glimpses of what that actually means to embody that God energy and the light and what we're bringing here to the planet. And we get to see these different perspectives. Like this is an example of Lizanne asking for a different perspective. And Kevin's like, oh, I've got this different perspective on the vortexes and how they're actually coming through us. Which is incredible. I love that. Thank you for sharing. What, Kevin, any challenges? Like, what would you say is the biggest challenge with where you're at on your journey right now?
The biggest challenge right now is trying to figure out if I'm being too eager, meaning I want it all to happen right now, or if I'm being too patient, meaning I'm missing opportunities because I haven't taken the big leap. I have a family to care for, so I have my 3D income that I have to bring in.
Right.
And how do I expand into what I know I'm becoming and still take care of my 3D responsibilities at the same time?
Right. And that's where the new perspective comes in. And I'll just encourage you to notice where the story is very ingrained. I have to do this for my family. What if you didn't? What would that look like? And it gives you a little space to open up and find some wiggle room, right? Because this is what we need is we've got to start seeing things differently.
Yeah.
So I'll hold that space for you for that breakthrough, because this path of destiny that we've talked about, oftentimes there is a sense of urgency on this path when we're on it. Yeah. It's hard, and it's hard to know what to do with that at times when we feel a great amount of responsibility to take care of wives and children.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too.
So I'll go, Kevin. I'll just say you're not alone for sure in that one. I'm working on, I'm just going to call it the reactor, and doing a lot of work with Emily to basically, kind of tap into, my mastery in order to kind of bring this forward. However, it's so out there that most other people, around me in my life right now don't actually, kind of believe in it or support it, right? So having the patience, how do you let something fall away in a very, kind of graceful way? It's tough. So just know that there's other people, kind of like going through it, and ask questions, bounce things, kind of off. Like, and the other thing is there's a lot of mistakes that I've made like even in the last year. But every mistake has had actually a learning to it, and so from that perspective, there are no mistakes.
Right. How many, and thank you, Stephen. We're not alone. Like, how many of you feel like you have big dreams and projects and you don't exactly know how to execute them? Furthermore, your family might think you're freaking nuts if you tried.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's I think one that we can all definitely I don't want to use the word commiserate on, but it's good to talk about this, and it's good to understand and know that we all feel similar things, and there are ways to break through and to move through. And when you're running with a pack who desires that and who's done that, I mean, they say the road to enlightenment, this path of destiny, it's a challenging road. It's best walked with good friends who have awareness of the road ahead. Right? Let's see, there's one other thing, Steve, thank you for commenting too about the mistakes and the mistakes that we make along the way, because Alyssa, when you talked about my style of sharing, of being really open about mistakes and making sure that I'm, you know, questioning myself and staying in those higher levels of integrity. One of the reasons that humanity is in the piss pot that we're in right now, if you want to call it that, maybe I can rephrase that one, or I should say reperspective that one right now. But one of the reasons that we got here is because we lost the ability to course correct. And we just kept going further and further and further down the wrong path. And so to bring that back in, just like Kevin, where'd you go? Wave. Maybe popped off camera for a second. Just like Kevin talked about the vortex there, yeah. Like we are becoming the vortexes. We are the change. Like we have to bring it in through our own experience. And I find that is, it's part of mastery, is really being able to embrace the imperfection and the mistakes along the way. With radical tolerance, love, and compassion. We've got to meet that with radical tolerance, love, and compassion.
So Emily, I don't know if you've come across this at all, but in some of the studying I've been doing, I've come across the idea that Gaia has actually left the planet. Her soul contract with our planet has been completed, and that's part of the destabilization that's happening right now. And us as the spirit workers on the planet are basically called upon to become, we as an entire civilization need to elevate ourselves to take over that job. I don't know if you've come across that or not.
Well, I mean, not in those exact terms, but the energy of Mother Mary in particular, she's very much associated and connected with the idea of the path of destiny. And she's been initiated through the Hathor Isis lineage of alchemy. And she has the ability to, in essence, replace and shapeshift areas where the divine feminine has been wounded. So that could be that could be the mother, the partner, the friend, that essence of the divine energy. So I'm just getting chills through my whole body. I see an interesting correlation as we're talking here about the path of destiny and that lineage that comes with that. So if we look at that Mary, that divine feminine energy that can shapeshift to fill in that gap, that tracks with the story that you just shared with me. That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, Sherry.
I'm just curious if my journey looks like other people's journeys. It's been 6 years. Started off losing my brother, buying a crystal for why, I have no idea. Well, I do now, but I didn't know then. And taking crystal courses and crystal healing, becoming certified in that, dabbling in that, starting a crystal business, which is very fun. Found myself receiving downloads and actually channeling with family members, and I didn't even realize what I was doing until I'm getting chills right now, because after talking to them, they're the ones that are going, wow, where did that come from, Sherry? That's not mom that I know. That's not, I'm getting emotional. I just feel like everything's just unfolding. And so now I've found myself starting to give little bits of what I call witchy wisdom, like before a crystal show, just trying to share my knowledge with other people. And am I being lazy? I feel like it's just kind of flowing and unfolding, and that's just all I had to say.
Okay, so a couple of up levels. Can I give you some up levels there, Sherry?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you notice that when you talked, you said, I'm kind of trying to do this with my healing? Take those kind of and tryings out and just learn to speak with more authority. And this is for everybody, because you'll notice yourself trying it out with other people. I'm going to use trying and kind of and not super strong vocabulary, but just dip my toe in. I'm going to see how it goes. Start speaking with more authority, and you'll find that your confidence will up level really quickly, right? Because it's actually us that needs to hear our own self speak with that authority.
I understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, get it, girl. All right, anybody else want to share? Because I prepared a little slideshow for you. I'll share some slides and some stories and excursion. You guys ready to move into that? Is that cool if I share that with you? All right, let me get my screen set up. Okay. Boom. You guys see my screen? Thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, Mount Shasta 2024 will be about unlocking the power of sacred symbols. All right. So I want to share with you guys what happens to me when I travel, especially when I travel alone. I'm required to get out of my comfort zone. I want to know how many of you guys have seen a meme that looks like this, where we've got the comfort zone and then where the magic happens, which is actually way outside of your comfort zone. And I find for myself too, if I'm traveling solo, there brings even another element of getting out of my comfort zone and adventuring out. Anybody feel like getting out of their comfort zone and experiencing some magic could benefit them in their life right now? Woo! I know, I'm ready for a dose myself, y'all. Another reason that I love to travel, I love to discover new people and new environments. And like I was sharing with Lizanne earlier when we were talking, when you need new perspective, getting outside of your regular routine is so impactful, and getting around other people who have other ideas and other experiences, and you're having new conversations, there is an impact that lasts for years in our lives when we have deep, meaningful experiences like this. Also for me, when I travel, I turn down the noise of my 3D life. And generally when I'm going somewhere, I'm going to be connecting into the nature and the geography of that space. I fully believe that the more time each of us spend in nature, that our leaders spend in nature, that nature will begin to reveal herself and her wisdom in a way that will take us into higher and higher states of evolution. But I think that this is the key. Anybody love nature and feel like that connection, like as we reconnect, there's going to be major opening? Yeah, I feel you. All right, so what can you expect on this trip? Here's what I want to talk to you guys about next. I'm going to go over the big promise of what you can create for yourself. I want to talk about the specific mystical excursions that you'll go on once we're on the mountain. And I also want to talk about training and prerequisites. The big promise, all right, I gotta put my glasses on as I read these to you guys. Read along with me. What is possible for you? What is available for you on this trip is the embodiment of the light codes, the activation of your DNA that will help you eliminate projections and judgments, preventing you from fully following your heart. Fully following our heart is so difficult. We've already talked about some of the ways that we feel inhibited and challenged around doing that. And following your heart is probably the #1 requirement of being on the path of destiny. Living out your destiny regardless of outer circumstances or influence. How many of you feel like there are things happening in the world that are preventing you from being who you want, or building the business that you want, or living the life that you want? People talk about the downturn in the economy and this and that is coming. You guys, the very first annual trip to Mount Shasta happened during lockdown. During first COVID, when we had lockdown, we had been planning the excursion for about 10 months. No idea that COVID and the lockdown was coming. And here I am planning my very first retreat. I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And then I just turned it over. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have the retreat. And it's meant to be. We got 4 Canadians across the border during lockdown. We had over 20 people at that event. So if you want to live out your destiny, regardless of outer circumstances and influence, you're in the right place. You're hanging out with the right people. Commanding full creative authority over your physical world. Deeply connect with ascended masters and your Akashic records. Download absolute clarity around your vision and align with your truest genius. Experience the power and connection of soul family reunion. Opening ceremonies happen at Mount Shasta headwaters, which is a place where the water has traveled for hundreds of years before it reaches the surface. And because of the journey this water has been on, traveling from deep within Mother Earth, it's not only deeply purified by that process scientifically, deeply purified by that process, but it's also known as fairy water or God consciousness water because it's untouched by human emotion. And we know through the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto that water takes on in like different shapes, the shape and the crystalline structure of the water changes based on intentions that are placed on the water. We start our process here where this water is pure and untouched by the challenge that's happening in our world. We use it in a purification ceremony to bring that back to ourselves before we go into the experience together on the mountain. Also at the sacred headwaters, there's a ceremony where we're going to connect with ancestors. The ancestors, they've prophesied us. They've called us forth. They're here to help and support, along with the ascended masters who, again, Kevin, I think we're recognizing that we have access through our consciousness now at this point to tap into the storyline, the collective memory around all of the ascended masters. What does that mean? It means we can tap into wisdom from all of them. Did we live a past life as each one of them? I don't necessarily interpret it that way, but what I think we saw a few generations ago, and we're still seeing some of this now, but you would see humans as they began to wake up and to discover themselves, oh, I was Jesus in a past life, or oh, I was Cleopatra in a past life. What my guide shared with me about that is it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's the power of the story that changes. And that was enough to satisfy me a couple of years ago. And I've just been okay with that. I feel like recently some more intelligence has dropped in that feels like it explains that even more. And I think it's the idea of this collective memory that we've increased our vibrational frequency enough, our Merkabas move enough that we can jump into other points of consciousness in the space-time continuum, and we can extract that intelligence, right? So we actually have, because we have access to these memories, these timelines, we are in essence all of the ascended masters coming back for the golden age of miracles now on the planet. And it's about us waking up to that truth of who we are. So I'll take you to drink from the river to do that, okay? oh my gosh, all of the frequency and pressure just shifted and changed in my ears. Hang with me, guys. I'm notorious for just jacking up my slides when we're live. I skipped back.
You're just going back in time. That's all.
There we go. All right, so let's talk about what happens on Lionsgate. This is on actual 8/8. We go on to the mountain with a guide. His name is Paul Venus. There's a documentary about him on Gaia, and I think there are a couple of other documentaries around about him. He was the lead singer for a band called Muse. He and his brother were two of the founding members, and he was electrocuted on stage and almost died. He and his brother sold the rights to the band, and the band went on to become very famous. Probably some of you guys have heard of Muse before. And Paul went on a very long 7-year healing journey before he could even walk again. And he went into Mount Shasta, and through his healing experience, his true identity and soul mission has been revealed, and he's a steward of the mountain now and will be the one that takes us into the sacred vortex locations. So when we go onto the mountain, we're going to go to those secret spots where we will download light codes. I will show you an example of what those light codes. You also experience on the mountain, because of the granite that's there, also because of the fact that Shasta is a super volcano. Okay, and it has erupted before. We'll take you into places where the ground is all like a plasma field. But you will reach unprecedented states of consciousness because of the piezoelectric energy that's there that will assist in helping you get outside of all of the thoughts of normalcy that we have. All right, so here are some examples of the light codes that come in. On the very first one, let's see, that would be on my left-hand side. If you guys look close in the bottom, you can see the face of Saint Germain. It almost looks like a negative. Remember old time photography? Back when we had film and cameras, it's like a negative, but his face is right down there, and there are two beings on each side. The one in the middle is my very first trip to Mount Shasta. That was me standing on the altar of Saint Germain. And then I have some light codes here from last year's excursion. Now you'll notice I have a key here at the top. In order to download these light codes, you've got to have the key. Who knows what the key is? Who knows where you get the key? You're the key. It's your presence and your awareness and your openness and your intention in this space that activates the ancient memory that we've left behind for ourselves during this time. All right, the day after Lionsgate, I'm going to take you to see one of my great teachers on Mount Shasta. His name is Omaran. And on his property, he has a secret pyramid that is the exact scaled replica of Giza. And we will be going into this pyramid. This pyramid faces the mountain for activation with Isis, Metatron, other ascended masters. And this is also an opportunity where you will anchor your vision into the Earth's grid, the Earth's grids, both the crystalline grid, which lays like ley lines in the planet when Kevin was talking about the ley lines. Maybe we're going to be activating those ley lines within ourselves, activating our missions through each other and connected to each other and carrying them around the planet. I like that interpretation too. And then also we will connect to the Christed consciousness grids. Those are the grids that surround our planet. So I want to show you a picture of what the pyramids look like. There's the secret pyramid there on Mount Shasta that we will go into for activation. CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. This is purposeful contact with galactic and interdimensional beings. How many of you have had contact before, sightings? I've had a lot of really amazing experience. Oh yeah, Steve and I, we've seen them in Sedona before. I have seen 200 ships, that's an estimate, I didn't actually count them, flying in formation in broad daylight in Mount Shasta, which was extraordinary. I've also had encounters with beings that like show up on my phone. Like, for example, my phone, like, see how the screen is black right now? When I was in Mount Shasta once, I just started getting like messages and connections with beings that were moving all over my screen. Sometimes they will come to you in dreams while you're there, or they will ignite other aspects of your senses. When I went to initiate into the Order of Melchizedek, which was 2021, I slept on Mount Shasta 4 days by myself, went through the initiation process with Omaran, who I'll take you all to see. That's when I met in this lifetime, my great teacher, Omaran. And after that experience, I'd been fasting. The initiation was over. I was staying a couple extra days on the mountain just to integrate before I went back home, back into the noise. And I was walking down from Panther Meadows, which is one of the 5D heaven on earth vortexes there in Mount Shasta. And as I was walking down, there was this light that was so bright. It looked like Venus. It was that bright, but it also seemed like it was inside the atmosphere. Sometimes hard to tell at night, especially at dusk. And of course, my phone was dead, so I couldn't pull out my star tracker to see what it actually was. And it also seemed like it's following me, which I know the stars do that, or the moon does that. It seems like it's following you. All of these things I could potentially write off as, no, that's not really a ship following you, Emily, until I realized that there was a smell, a unique smell that was associated with this ship. And as I was walking down the mountain, I would get this whiff of something super familiar, so familiar, but I couldn't place it. It went away. About another mile down the mountain, this whiff comes back. I can't place it on the second time, but the third time the whiff comes back and I'm looking up at that thing, I realize that's ozone. Mama, where's my mama? My mama can wait for you guys. When I was growing up, my mom had an ozone machine that created ozone. It was like an ozone air purifying machine, and it had this really just unique smell to it. And so as I'm telling my friend Ruben about this experience and that smell, he goes, Emily, ozone is a byproduct of zero energy technology. Like, oh, wow. Okay. So your experiences that you'll get to have with interdimensional beings, masters, ships, the galactics, it can look different. It doesn't necessarily look like a ship flying through the air, but sometimes it does. We caught one on.
Emily, look at this ship up there.
Oh, did you guys see it? Did you see it? You want me to play it again? Play it one more time?
Emily, look at this ship up there.
You guys see it? Are you tracking it? Cool. Yeah, yeah, it's going down into the mountain. Cool. The classroom training that we're going to experience on this excursion has to do with sacred symbols and unlocking their power. So you will have a combination of academic study. I'll be giving you background and intelligence. Also, personal experience with these symbols. We'll be going into the records and having encounters and dialogue with these symbols, and then coming back into group sharing. This training is also designed to help you explore themes of unconditional love as an access point to your personal power. Again, huge part of the path of destiny is really embracing unconditional love for self and trusting our innocence. It's that innocence and that childlike curiosity that's calling forward these big dreams in all of us that feel like, how am I ever going to accomplish that? That sounds really crazy. If I say that to my family, that's nuts. If you are still experiencing aspects, that's where you have not fully embraced your own innocence to the degree that that is being required for you to fully walk the path of destiny. And that has to do with our ability and allowance of unconditional love of self in our life. The study of these sacred symbols is also designed to help you release all attachments to victimhood and suffering, which is another theme course you have to take. You have to get checked off by the professor of the universe. Yep, you released all victimhood, attachment, and suffering. It's part of this path that we choose. And one of the reasons that it's so important, again, that we each do it through our own microcosm, is that we are opening up that ability for the rest of the planet. But think about what it would mean to you to live in a life where you are fully released from victimhood and suffering. Your attachments to these aspects that chain you to the false matrix and fear mind are gone. Who are you then? I want to know. All right, how many of you are saying, all right, Emily, this sounds really great. I'm in. How much is it? Tell me more about it. Anybody at that place yet? That means I'm doing a good job. No?
Tell us more. Tell us more.
Tell us more. All right, so let's talk about what you're going to get on this experience. You have 5 days of Akashic transmission and advanced level training. You have a full day VIP immersion into the secret vortexes on Mount Shasta. This will also come with the self-study Learn to Read the Akashic Record training. That is a prerequisite since you are going to be using your Akashic Records and that we are working at such a high level on the mountain. 5 days breakfast and lunch, organic high vibe cuisine designed to help you maximize absorption of the light code energies, engage in deep soul purification and resetting biological and neurological systems. This is priceless. And of course, our bonus pyramid activation with the masters. So what would this mean? What do you get to create? I want you to start thinking about that. Think about you living that life of clarity, passion, and inspiration. What are you going to do? You know, quintuple your income like I did? You want to write the book? Do you want to create the program? You want to lead the job, live in miracle consciousness? It's all about finding you and doing you. This is the opportunity, the gateway, like Jim said, to heal the brokenness and live in your potential. What happens when peace, love, and joy is your default mode? What's that mean for you? Is greater cosmic mystery. I'm going to share with you what it meant for Robert, who is in the house. Robert, give a wave if you're still here. And Lisa. All right, here we go. Calling to you. The mystery of your highest potential. But responsibility, stress, and EMF are distorting your vision. And the scariest thing is, during our depleted state, it's so easy to give up, to give in, and stay small. There's good news. At the Akashic Academy, we've dedicated ourselves to recovering wisdom that will help quantum visionaries, thought leaders, and difference makers thrive in the face of change. This August, come join me and the Ascended Masters in Mount Shasta for the Akashic Alchemy Immersion.
Why I went to Shasta. The Akashic Academy Immersion at Mount Shasta represented a way for me to be able to work directly with Emily Harrison and a group of people like me that are looking at deepening both their wisdom and their intuition. The fact that Shasta is a mountain that's sacred to the indigenous people of North America and that it is known to have magnetic energy vortexes, that added to the mystery and the attraction of participating in the immersion. And what has happened since I got back from Shasta? I have been writing more, I have been writing better, and I've focused on developing more skills to coach effectively and empathetically. My intuition's improved. My focus on living a life of good health and acting on what is possible when I played big on my life's purposes has made life all that much more rewarding.
Why I went to Mount Shasta. I knew Shasta would be life-changing because of the potent energy there. I just needed to find the right tribe to go with. When I was in Shasta, I experienced unconditional love from within. I've built a whole company. I landed a TEDx talk. I have the ability to manifest at the drop of a hat because I tapped into the highest frequency in the vortex.
All right, so prerequisites. Prerequisites for this training does require you to have completed Learn to Read the Akashic Records. This is a program that will take you 4 months to move through, 3.5, 4 months to move through. So time to get started if you want to come to Mount Shasta. Here's the good news is that we are going to include this as a free bonus for those of you who want to join us in Mount Shasta. Also prerequisites for this, you must fill out an application. Space is limited on this trip, and just because you fill out an application does not necessarily mean that this will be the right match of experience for you. So the application process is free to apply. You do need to make sure that you complete the training in learning to read the records before you come. The Mount Shasta Alchemy Immersion will be happening August 6th through the 10th. The investment is $5,500, and this also includes the Learn to Read the Akashic Records training, valued at $1,497. You have 2 options. You can pay in full. It's a $5,500 payment where you'll save $500, or we also have a payment plan if that works better for you, 2 payments of $3,000. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to take us off screen share here and come back to Big in the classroom, and we're going to keep talking. But I want to make sure that those of you who want to continue this conversation and continue this process, your next step is filling out an application. So Kathy, can you pop the link in to the chat box there? I'm going to encourage you, go ahead and click on that, open it in a different window, and then come on back and join us here in the classroom for any questions or comments or things that are landing for you guys. Cool. All right. Cool. You guys got those chat boxes open, or I should say that second window open. All right. What questions do you have for me? I'm all yours. Thank you for being here, and I'm excited to hear what's landing and where you have questions.
Hey, Emily.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, how you doing? I got a couple things for you. Number one's a win. It just kind of adds on to the things that have been happening.
Awesome.
Well, the writing continues. I found people who are editing and helping me out and making that particular piece happen. I've been able to work on this whole thing that we've had of like multiplication in life by subtraction, of taking things out in order to be able to do more. I've got a great new relationship. This is all these things that I've been manifesting since going to Shasta has all been progressively coming in one after another, after another, after another.
Wow.
So my question is, for somebody like me who's going to come back again, what are some of the, like, is there things that I can expect over and above from previous, or like, so this may not be the appropriate venue for this question. I just wanted to, ask a little bit more of.
Right. Well, I find that there's a cumulative effect. So I'm with you. I'm a returner to Mount Shasta. And a lot of the incredible things that have happened and continue to happen in my own experience have happened after I feel like I go back and I get the dose and I get the dose and I get the next dose of energy, right? So there's always a cumulative effect of how we get to continue working with the energy. Definitely, we're going to see Paul again. Definitely, we're going to see Omaran again. What is going to be new this year is all of the training will be around working with sacred and ancient symbols, which we've all worked with before in past lives, which we're all, I should say, not even worked with before. We're working with them now in other dimensions of the space-time continuum. These sacred symbols work beyond the conscious mind. So the last experience, there was a lot of cerebral training in the classroom, a lot of our conscious mind processing who we are and how we want to show up, and creating systems and structures for that level of accountability and potentiality for ourselves, right? This time it's going to be more of a training with your innate and information that you've left for yourself, that these sacred symbols get to open up.
Cool.
I would say that this will, I mean, it's always very mystical. I would say this is going to be far more mystical than how we approached the process last year, which I love approaching with methodology. You guys know, if there's a system or a structure or a method or something that I can repeat so that I can ensure success in my life and potentiality, like success of me being in my potential, I'm going to do it. I want to figure that out, right? And then there are times when we need to surrender the 3D, the logic and the structure, and return to innate intuition. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I still refer back to my notes, at least on a weekly basis, and other things from stuff I learned and downloads I got and stuff like that.
From Shasta? Yeah. I have had at least 2 students that I can think of off the top of my head right now who use their actual journals from Mount Shasta as manuscripts to books they published.
Wow. Cool.
Pretty cool. Thank you. Good to see your face and hear your voice. What other questions we got? Who's going to fill out an application? Good. I hope so. I'm excited. All right, Kathy's comments, Kathy's last comments or takeaways before we wrap up?
Well, we have a question. So Charles's iPad wants to know, what city airport do we fly into?
Most people choose Reno or Sacramento as the airports to fly into. Those are the largest airports. There also is a smaller airport in Redding.
I have a question, if that's okay. I might have missed it. Had my little baby that's kind of distracting me. Did you mention lodging? Is it something that we will find our own lodging and then we just meet up during the day? Is that how that works?
Yes, so you'll find your own lodging. We'll have hotel blocks and lists of places for you all to help guide you in that process. And for those of you who want to roommate up and connect up, we'll definitely help facilitate that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Emily, how about trying to go for a sweat lodge right before?
Are you asking if somebody should or shouldn't do that?
No, is it a potential where we could try to organize it?
I do know Mateo, who is, interestingly enough, the elder of the Lakota tribe there in Mount Shasta. And he, for a while, did sweat lodges every Thursday. So if you guys are into, does anybody like sweat lodges as much as Steve? I do. Yeah, I love them. Alyssa is like, no way. So yeah, there's a potential. I haven't brought Matthew in to work with my people at that point. I think he would be great though. Yeah. What are the questions? All right, well, thank you all for spending the evening with me and each other and here together. My heart feels happy and full. And I look forward to the applications as they come in. So once your applications come in, give me 48 hours to review those and begin putting the pieces together. I will be full transparency. We have space for 25. That includes my team. And 7 of those spaces, actually 8 of those spaces 9 of those spaces are already spoken for because I know Robert and Steve are going and I hadn't counted them in my count before. Cool. But I counted you, Mama. You was in the count. Everybody wave. And if you don't know my mama yet, you're gonna be you get to hang out with Mama. Yeah, so give me 48 hours, but I will be reaching out to you and then we'll schedule a one-on-one time where we can make sure that if you have any questions about anything, I can answer those for you. And then we'll get you enrolled in that one-on-one conversation. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.